What's up, Football Express? It is a new week, and we're back with another episode of the Transfer Portal Shakeup. This is my off-season series where I break down the portal and how it affects and shaping up college football. Now, this is going to be the first long video that I have officially put out for this podcast. Most of them I just drop audio format, and you can get those wherever you get your podcast at. But this is the first official long video. So it might not look the cleanest, it might not look the best, but we're going to give it a shot. This week, I want to focus on two programs that are both transitioning into different light, being Auburn and Oklahoma State. They're bringing in two offensive-minded coaches with Alex Golesh and Eric Morris. Both guys are bringing their people, I should say. Auburn brings Alex Golesh from South Florida, who had a tremendous offense, who is bringing in very capable offensive power like Baron Brown, and kind of complement that with Oklahoma State bringing in Eric Morris. I think two guys they're bringing in phenomenal quarterbacks, Baron Brown and Drew Mestermaker, I think could be in the conversation of being top 10 quarterbacks next year. But there's going to be a slight learning curve, obviously going from the G5 to the Power 4. And starting us off with Auburn, to me, this is going to be the simplest team to talk about out of the two, because when you look at what Alex Golesh has done over the last couple of years at South Florida, he's already competed with some middle-of-the-pack to upper-tier SEC schools like Alabama, Florida, thrive. You not played Alabama extremely close and then turn around and beat Florida last year. And then you add the experience that he has with the SEC, being a coach at Tennessee at one point in time. I think Alex Golesh is going to have a lot of experience to pull from. With all that experience, it's going to give me a big opportunity to shoot this Auburn team in the right direction. And what's going to help shoot this team in the right direction, I think, is all the transfer portal additions that they have been able to make. Like I stated earlier with Baron Brown, a dual threat passer, over 3,000 yards, 42 total touchdowns last year. I mean, this is a guy who you can get about 3,000, 1,000 on the ground. He's going to put up about 40, 50 touchdowns on the season. He's someone that you would want to lead your offense. Now, there's some development that has to go on there. Cut down on the turnovers, cut down on the fumbles, secure the ball a little bit more, but the playmaking ability is there. When you look at the receiving position, yes, losing Malcolm Simmons and Cam Coleman is a big hit to what that offense could have looked like under Golesh. But you're still bringing in a lot of continuity and a lot of familiarity from the receiver position with, Jeremiah Coger, and then you got Keyshawn Singleton, and then a bunch of different freshmen that are coming in that were already a part of Golesh's system. Pair that up to, I think, it's going to be the hardest task. This is the offensive line, and that's kind of what separates P4 from Group of 5, is how the trenches operate. Auburn, they're losing all their starters from last year at the offensive line, so Golesh had to revamp that offensive line. He's bringing a couple different guys like Joseph Simmons, O-tackle from JMU. They've brought in Stenton Ramal from Mississippi State to kind of anchor the line, and pulled in, like I said, continuity from earlier, pulled in some guys that are familiar with the scheming of Golesh's offense with Cole Best and Cole Skinner onto the offensive line. You look at the skill position, or you look at the running backs, Byerson Robertson, you got Davenport. They kind of complement each other. You got one guy who can toke the rock 15, 20 times a game. You got another guy, one cut, he's gone. He has speed unmatched. So you look at the offensive side of the ball, what they have is phenomenal. I really think this is a top 10 offense just based off of what they're pulling from South Florida. What I've seen Alex Golesh being able to do, the only concerns to me would probably be defense. Last year, there was a lot of holes in the defense. Now, that might not necessarily be Golesh's fault because of the DC, but you're inheriting a pretty decent defense. I haven't seen too many guys hit portal, but they have lost, like I said, a lot of guys across the board. Auburn has. And that's, so the defensive side is going to be the real testing point of how Auburn looks next year. So my pre-spring evaluation on Auburn, I see Auburn being an 8-4 team, maybe 7-5, but I'm really shooting at 8-4. Offense, they're going to be top 10 in the country. I think Baron Brown really has a shot to be a Heisman dark horse next year. You're going to have a couple of receivers, at least one I know, in the running for being the best receiver next year. And you might have one of the best running back duos in all of college football. So overall, I think an 8-4 season is very on the look for them. I wouldn't be surprised if they overachieve on my evaluation. Then again, there's still a lot of spring ball to watch. On the flip side, another team that I think is very similar in every aspect that I just talked about is Oklahoma State. With Eric Morris coming in from North Texas, he's bringing his bag. He's bringing all his star players like Drew Mestamaker, Wyatt Young, Caleb Hawkins, and a bunch of different guys in from the portal. Caleb Hawkins being probably one of the best freshman running backs from last year, toting the rock for 29 touchdowns last year, leading the nation, 6.1 yards a carry, bringing in Wyatt Young, who was probably one of the best young. He's a sophomore, so he was one of the best young receivers at the group of 5 level. He has another year of experience. So that combination of Mestamaker and Young, they're already pretty familiar with each other. So for that to be put into Eric Moore's system at Oklahoma State, I think we're going to do a lot of numbers for them. And then when you look at what else they have pulled out of the transfer portal with Justin Bowick from Illinois, Chris Barnes from Wake Forest, Oklahoma State will have 3 former 4-star plus receivers. All 3, I think, are going to be the guaranteed starters. And then you also have some returning guys like Miles Coleman, another guy from North Texas, going to Oklahoma State. And then if you look at Pollock, this is another guy, 508 touchdowns in the MAC last year. And then you got Devon Green from LSU. He's a tight end that's going to have a lot of depth to the receiving core. But like I said, that offensive line is going to be the true test of how North Texas is going to look. So you can already see in the transfer portal, they have grabbed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different guys in the transfer portal to bolster the offensive line depth. So that's going to be the big turning point of what this team's going to look like. That's going to be the X factor right there. If the offensive line can perform extremely well, then this offense, top 10, sky's the limit. They're going to be very competitive in the Big 12. It's not like Eric Morris went to the Big 10. He didn't go to the SEC. I think his offense is going to be very favorable in the Big 12, or if he would have went to the ACC, it would have been favorable. I don't think a lot of the teams in those conferences have imposing defenses. Now, a couple outliers would probably be like a Utah or how Texas Tech performed last year, maybe a BYU, but I don't think a lot of the defenses in the Big 12 would be extremely opposing. So for my pre-spring evaluation, Oklahoma State to me is a 7-5, 8-4 team with a top 10, top 15 offense. I do believe Drew Mestamaker can finish as a top 3 quarterback next year. I will say the only hit that I have and the only thing that kind of worries me, yes, I know what I've said about Mestamaker, and I do believe he has the capability of finishing as a top 10 quarterback. The only thing for me personally would have to be, will the development hit right? Because if that offensive line doesn't hold up, then he's not going to have a good day. And without an offensive line, you're not going to be able to shine. And I would like to see what kind of adversity, how he treats adversity. A couple other things, you want to look at Caleb Hawkins. I think he's going to be a stud. To me, Caleb Hawkins, I've talked a little bit about what these guys can do. I just want to circle back to Caleb Hawkins because, man, what this guy can do is phenomenal. I think, honestly, I don't really think the offensive line is going to matter too much. I think Caleb Hawkins is going to finish another season with 20 touchdowns on the ground.